Praise God.
And if you belong to Christ, who holds the power and the healing abilities, that same power and healing abilities belong to you too.
Whoa.
You too also have self-healing abilities and that same power that Christ brought you with. Isn't that nice? You should be glad to answer that.
To make a change, because right away, they say, well, I got to change, right? I got to make this transformation in my life, right? But, exactly how long it's going to take, because that could be a long process. That process can...
Marcus Hart Transform You Radio Show. The only radio show where you can make real results and start living in your purpose. Visit MarcusHartEnterprises.com. MarcusHartEnterprises.com.
Hello, my people, and I welcome you once again. We are on interview number 9 for the year of 2016. Boy, isn't it exciting. Being a very new broadcast company and just being able to have all these great guests, it just makes you so feel. It makes you feel with so much joy to know that, you're attracting the right people. If you know anything about me, I'm a big firm believer in the law of attraction. I believe what you put out into the universe, you receive just as much back. And that's what we've been getting. We've been getting some awesome guests. And the one we have on today, oh man, I've run my hands together in excitement. I can't wait. And for those who are out there listening right now, we welcome you. We welcome you once, we welcome you 2 times. We welcome you a zillion times. And to all of my replay viewers who are going to miss this live action, we welcome you just as well. And if you haven't already, make sure you do join us at transformubroadcast.com. That's transformubroadcast.com. Sign up for a free membership. We do have free memberships available, and you have the option of, joining us live. Otherwise, you can always catch the replays of all of the different interviews with some of the great guests that we are having on. So once again, that's transformubroadcast.com. In other news, there's not really any much updates, but to the fact that real soon our TV show will be up and running just as well, and we'll be adding lots of different content to the TV show portion of this. Those who are on Periscope, you guys still get a chance to be blessed with seeing me, free of charge. And if you switched over and come on and join the rest of us, the community of different world-leading experts and friends, you'll be able to get the same, viewing of me as well as other content, because we have a brand new host coming on that's going to be starting their own shows, and we're going to be having sports, we're going to be having movies, and different TV shows that's going to deliver the inspiration you need in your life, as well as the necessary restoration of your power and of your inner voice so that you can make transformation in your life. That's what we're all about here. Now, let's switch back gears. Back to our guest. Our guest today is Scott Stevens. And boy, looking at all of the things that he has been doing for the fight against alcoholism, it's amazing. This guy is just everything you need all in one. He's a former TV reporter and anchor. He's also been on the radio before, and he has 3 books out right now. And I'm going to allow him to tell you more about himself, in his own words, because I don't want to miss out on sharing anything that's important for you guys to hear. Okay, so without further ado, let's hear it for Scott Stevens.
Hey, Marcus, thank you for having me on the program. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about alcohol and health and alcoholism and share a little bit about my story as well.
Awesome. It is just a pleasure to have you on board. I'm actually a bit humbled right now. So, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself. They heard it from me. So what can you tell us about us?
Well, most recently, I've been involved with my own website, alcohologist.com, with a number of treatment facilities, a number of addiction experts, such as interventionists or recovery coaches, and the treatment industry as a whole is looking at ways to improve the outcomes for people with the disease of alcoholism. I am one of them. I have had my challenges with alcohol. I'm a person in long-term recovery right now. And what I set out to do about 5 years ago with my first book, What the Early Worm Gets, is to talk about the difference between treatment and mistreatment. And that was pretty well received in that there was a lot of perception that all you need to do is get the person to stop drinking and everything's fine. But that's not the case at all. And then I went into my second book, Every Silver Lining Has a Cloud, talking about the fact that 9 out of 10 people who attempt sobriety fail their first time through. And 9 out of 10 people are returning to the misery. I was one of them. I relapsed, and I was wondering, why? What am I doing? I was very frustrated, and I began to explore some of the neurochemical imbalances that are going on within the body of an alcoholic, and discovering that a non-alcoholic has no clue what it's like to drink alcoholically, and an alcoholic has no idea what it's like for a so-called normal person to drink. So I talk a lot about that in my second book. My third book just came out last year, and I'm talking about the stigma of alcoholism, and that keeps a lot of people from going into treatment to begin with, or from talking about a disease that is, frankly, all too common, as you and I were talking about before we came on the air.
Yes.
There isn't a family out there that hasn't been touched by this, either by an immediate family member, a family friend, a distant relative. It impacts a lot of American society. It's very costly, too, where it costs America $250 billion a year. And to put that in perspective, that's enough to buy every man, woman, and child in this country a 48-inch high-definition television every year. So this is the thing that we begin to talk about, breaking down the stigma, so more people with the challenges with alcoholism will go get treatment. More people will be supportive of the idea of long-term recovery, because we do recover. We do. And they'll also have a dialogue about what alcohol does to otherwise normal or healthy tissue, and what causes problems is one, and that this isn't just a matter of the disease of alcoholism or car wrecks or lost jobs. There is also a very significant health consequence to just everyday or moderate or so-called social drinking. Cover all of that, and cover it all in all 3 of those books and the website, and have every opportunity that I can take to extend the message that sobriety is a better thing to have than to lack. I'm not going to be the guy standing in the grocery store telling you you can't buy that. I'm not in favor of any kind of prohibition or anything. I'm just informing people, and I'm in favor of informed decision about drinking. And if you choose to drink after knowing the facts, God bless you. It's a burden on the healthcare system. It's going to shorten your life, but America's built on choices, and they're not always the healthy ones.
Wow. And and we feel very guilty here in Wisconsin, being the beer state. So this is definitely dialogue we need to begin to have with those who are drinkers, and those who have struggled, or those who maybe looking to drink as they come of age, to just give the warning, the same warning labels we get on cigarettes we should have on beer and other various alcohol. With that said, when was the time when you found out that you had a problem with alcohol?
Well, I discovered that alcohol turned on me back in 2004. My wife at the time, mother of my 2 awesome children, said, I would like you to quit drinking for my birthday. When I heard those words, it's like, I'm a corner office executive in the mutual fund industry. I can do this, no problem. College educated, I'm a smart guy. I know this, I got this. And when I tried to quit, within hours, I was shaking, I was sweating profusely. And, I didn't start out drinking 2 liters of Jack Daniels a day. I started out drinking beer, and then my drinking gradually progressed. And at that point, when I couldn't quit, that was the day I realized that alcohol had turned on me. But rather than getting help at that time, Marcus, what I did is, of course, I'm brilliant. I'll come up with my own solution. I became a maintenance drinker, switched to Jack Daniels from beer.
Wow.
And just take a sip here or there to keep myself from going through withdrawal. And as that progressed, I mean, this is a progressive, chronic, fatal primary disease, and progressive is exactly what I ran into. My drinking became the center of my life, and everything around it. I had to schedule my life around acquiring or drinking alcohol. And as everything crashed and burned, I got 4 drinking and driving tickets in 6 weeks. I had drank my way out of one marriage and into another one, and out of that one as well. And at that point, which is 3 years after I attempted to quit on my own, I decided, like most alcoholics realize, is that you can't do this alone. You need help. So I went to treatment. I began to explore more about my disease and about myself and about this toxin and carcinogen that I've been dumping into my body in copious amounts.
Yeah. So what do you say to those who, use the excuse, or, and I don't like to say that word excuse when talking about such a delicate topic, but what do you say to those who say that, well, it ran in my family, my father was a drinker and his father was a drinker, and so on and so on?
Mm-hmm. There is a genetic component to this. That doesn't necessarily mean it's hereditary, but the studies have shown that it does go through a family system, and a lot of that has to do with the environment that you're brought up in. But regardless of that, anybody can quit drinking if drinking becomes a problem, or quit before it becomes a problem. I happen to believe that sobriety is a better thing to have than to lack. Certainly it is for me to save my own life, and certainly it is for anybody with the disease of alcoholism. But in general, if you're talking about the chronic use of alcohol, if somebody bothers and has the courage to come up to you and say, I'm concerned about your drinking, Marcus. You know what? You have to listen to that person, because it takes a lot of courage to bring up a topic that is very stigma-loaded and may very well ruin your friendship or relationship. A person with the disease of alcoholism is experiencing the only disease that convinces you do not have it. So, of course, we're going to be in a great deal of denial. Oh, yeah, thanks for your information. But we all have moments of lucidity when we're going through a trial or an experience with alcohol. We all have moments of lucidity. And mentioning that, having the courage to mention that to someone, do it. And if you have those words mentioned to you, heed them. Because if somebody else noticed, you probably have it.
Definitely. It sounds like, we should have more, education out for everyone on this issue, and not just, for the alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
Because, it does take courage to be able to reach out to a friend or family member and say, hey, I believe you have a problem with this thing. And, and thank God for you, that, just to hearing the words, well, would you quit drinking on my birthday, was enough for you to say, well, maybe I need to identify this.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any, other doubts in your head, or anything that, might have, caused you to doubt yourself?
Well, medically speaking, it's very easy to stop the progression of the disease of alcoholism, or to bring it into remission, as we talk about diseases. All you need to do is stop drinking. But in reality, that's a really hard thing, because it is part of our culture, it's part of our society, part of our everyday way of life, whether we're celebrating something or mourning something, or just want to blow off a little stress. Alcoholics and non-alcoholics alike drink for the same reason. That's to relieve stress. Well, I can't. It almost killed me twice. It cost me 2 marriages, and it took a very low bottom for me to realize that the next drink could be my last. because it could kill me. So at that point, I reached out for help, but it doesn't come in a silver bullet. This is a lifelong learning. It's a lifestyle change where, if you're sitting there, Marcus, cross your arms in front of you. Now uncross them, them, and move the bottom hand to the front. It feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? It's a little awkward. Okay, well, but you can do it. And that's the same with fighting alcoholism. The idea is it's intuitive to say you're going to fight this, but in the reality of alcoholism, you surrender to the disease, knowing that you're not going to lick this. You're not going to conquer alcoholism and be cured. You're going to go through a period of discomfort, just like crossing those arms and recrossing them. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel strange for a while, but you can do it. It just takes a commitment to change, and not just change for the sake of your kids, your job. It's change to save your life and move in a different direction that doesn't involve the toxin alcohol. And when we have a conversation about alcohol, we don't acknowledge that this is a drug. I mean, this is a drug that's advertised during the Super Bowl or during any football game, Packer games, televised sports especially, but it is a very common drug in the United States, but it hasn't had the attention. When we talk about an epidemic of heroin use in the United States, we have an epidemic of heroin use, and it's tragic, but we also have a pandemic of alcohol use, where more and more people, 89,000 people a year, die from alcohol-related causes. And that's not just cirrhosis of the liver or car wrecks. That's because this drug causes cancer. 8 different types of cancer are directly linked to alcohol consumption, including, get this, for women, alcohol consumption is the only dietary connection ever made to an increased risk for breast cancer. So it is across the board not a very good thing to be putting in your body anyway, whether you're alcoholic or not. For me, it'll kill me, but for a non-alcoholic, it often does have long-term health consequences. Yeah.
And it's amazing, you just provided us that link between alcohol and cancer. And, is there any particular amount that's not safe? In your own discovery, have you come across anything that talks about the amounts?
Yes, I've come across several things. When you talk to a person who wants to justify their alcohol use, they say, "Oh, alcohol is good for your heart." Well, that study was long ago debunked, where alcohol has no known documented evidence-based health benefit. So starting from that baseline, if you want to talk about increasing risks for cancer or for other diseases, no amount is safe. And that's not me charging at windmills here. That comes from an oncologist who 3 years ago did an article in the Journal of Public Health and said, no amount is safe. If you're concerned about alcohol, or if you're concerned about cancer, this is a carcinogen that is hiding in plain sight. And that there isn't a dosage amount where any doctor is going to feel comfortable making a recommendation to say, well, if you drink below this amount, your risk for cancer is negligible. You're not going to find a doctor or an oncologist or a clinician who's going to make that bet, because the very tiny amounts are even associated with an increased risk for cancer. It is the number 2 cause of oral cancers. And back to the idea of increasing the risk for breast cancer, they found that 10 grams of alcohol, they being evidence-based researchers, found that 10 grams of alcohol a day, which is the equivalent of 1 single drink. That's the amount of alcohol in 1 glass of wine, 1 can of beer, 1 shot of whiskey, will increase the risk for breast cancer by double digits. it'll increase it by 11%. So even that small amount of alcohol on a daily basis or a regular basis should not be discounted when it comes to the increased risk for cancer. And there are other types of cancer that are associated with alcoholism. And essentially, Marcus, you just follow the path through the body, with the exception of the breast cancer. And that, I'll get back to that in a second, but follow the path through the body, you're looking at increased risk for oral cancers, mouth, tongue, neck, larynx, esophagus, stomach. Of course, it's going to clobber your liver because that's what's responsible for tackling the toxin, pancreatic and colon cancer. Now, when we get to the breast cancer, you might say, well, the alcohol doesn't touch the breast tissue, and that's where the real damage from alcohol comes in, is when it's broken down in the body, it turns into, at first, the substance called acetaldehyde, which is about 30 times more toxic than the alcohol, and it causes changes to DNA, causes changes at the molecular level of your body, which over time will increase your risk for cancers or other diseases.
Wow, and I never heard of that. You are like giving me some new information too. That it changes your DNA. So that you are most susceptible to these different cancers and diseases. Now, there's been tons of studies out there. On short-term and long-term health. What current studies that would you recommend to the audience to really take a look at?
Well, I think as we go through a period of 12 months, every year, we're going to see no less than 4 dozen different studies, clinical studies, evidence-based studies about the health consequences of alcohol. If you see one about the health benefits of alcohol, ask yourself one question. Why would they be looking for a health benefit of a known toxin and a listed carcinogen? You got to have that little aha moment to say, well, this doesn't quite pass the sniff test. But overall, look at the recent tests or recent studies on alcohol and cardiovascular health. There have been a slew of them in the last 6 months, which completely reverse decades of old thinking that alcohol is somehow heart healthy. It stems to an old study that was based on red wine, saying red wine is heart healthy. Well, red wine has resveratrol in it, which comes from the skin of grapes, and that is what has heart or cardiovascular benefits. The wine has alcohol in it, which raids the body of B vitamins and increases hypertension. So as a result, you're not doing your heart any good by drinking the alcohol. Just drink the grape juice, or better yet, eat the grapes. Get your resveratrol. Skip the alcohol. So studies on cardiovascular health, and more recently, there have been an increase of studies on Alzheimer's and dementia. Blame that on the aging baby boomer generation, or just blame it on better science. But where that looks is a visible shrinking of the brain, an atrophying of the brain as a result of alcohol use. And that's, frankly, that is from chronic use. But also at moderate or social use levels, it shrinks the white matter and the gray matter in the brain and forces changes in the molecular structure, molecular structure and neurochemical balance within the brain, leading to an increased risk for early onset Alzheimer's, or early onset dementia, especially in men under age 65. So what we're seeing is a vast, I call it a sea change that's ahead of us for the alcohol industry. I've done an article that calls it the alcopocalypse. And because
say that 3 times.
Well, I was just working on that article this morning, so it doesn't roll off the tongue quite easily, but it does point to a sea change in the way America is viewing alcohol. We see it as disruptive to American youth, with more youth exposed to alcohol advertising, and as a result, age of first use in the United States is down to age 12, where it once was 14.
Yeah.
Even at 14, you're too young. Your brain is still developing. We have a slew of studies on the long-term impact of drinking alcohol, even at moderate levels. And we also have this big emphasis in the United States on driving down healthcare costs. Well, if 20 to 40% of the general use hospital beds, that would exclude obstetrics and gynecology, the baby ward, it excludes that, but 20 to 40% of the general use hospital beds in the United States are going to treat alcohol-related complications. Now, if we're driving, if we're interested in driving down the cost of healthcare and health insurance, then we have to look at what's driving the costs, and that is 2 hospital ER admissions every minute that are alcohol related, and 20 to 40% of our beds are being used to treat alcohol-related complications. That is the alcopocalypse. There, we got it.
there's that word again. No, feel bad at all. There's tons of words that I can't pronounce sometimes. I even trip over some simple words. but here's the thing here. You have written 3 books on this topic here, and on recovery. Out of the 3, which one would you recommend to someone who's trying to put the drink down?
Mm-hmm. That's like asking me which of my kids are better looking. It's a tough question. Each book has a different message, but my writing style is consistent throughout all 3. It relies heavily on evidence-based research, and I also sprinkle in a bit of dry humor, but also a lot of my own personal experience, my own personal story. I think the first 2 books are definitely geared toward a person in early sobriety, where they're looking at weighing that decision, whether they're in pre-contemplation, thinking about getting sober, or just got sober and wondering, is it really worth all this work? And the answer is yes, it is worth all that work. Read the books. But anybody in long-term recovery will tell you it's worth those rocky first few months. And I think those first 2 books address that. The third book addresses an overall situation. All 3 books are applicable to everybody, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. But the third one is definitely geared toward a societal view on the disease of alcoholism. I call it the leprosy of the 21st century, because back in the biblical times, what did we do with lepers? We threw stones at them and we ran them out to the edge of town. We shamed the daylights out of them, and that is what we're doing in a roundabout way to alcoholics in the 21st century. If I told you I had cancer, you'd be bringing casseroles over to my house, Marcus. But if I told you I had alcoholism, I don't think you'd be showing up so much, because you think this dude is weak, he's morally off, something ain't right with him. Well, I'll tell you what ain't right with me. I have a chronic, fatal, progressive disease that is not curable, but it's treatable. I chose to treat mine, and I am definitely a better contributor to society as a sober man than I ever was in a corner office drinking 2 liters of Jack a day.
Wow. Well, we greatly appreciate this. We're just about at 1 minute here. And, like what you describe here, you describe this as not only being a moral issue, but it is a mind and body, issue too, that we must, again, to just deliver the right information, the correct information, the correct type of inspiration and hope for people out there, especially those who are the victims of the abuser.
I think as you look at the name of your program, Transform You, if you want to transform your life, evaluate why you are drinking a toxin and known carcinogen. And you can find out facts in my books, which are on Amazon.com. That's Every Silver Lining Has a Cloud, What the Early Worm Gets, and Adding Fire to the Fuel. Also visit my website, alcohologist.com.
Yeah, and just for those who are listening, can you just repeat that website for us one more time?
Sure, it's alcohologist, just like biologist, but alcohologist, alcohol, OGIST, com, and there's information on all the reporting I've done. Replays of this program will be on there in addition to being on your site, and a lot of the segments that I've recorded to talk about what causes problems is one.
Okay, are you still
I'm
here with us? Okay. It sounded like you had cut off at first.
Nope.
Okay, well, we definitely appreciate, having you on, and then is there always a question that I always ask every guest, now, with the current, election season coming up, we have seen a lot of different things coming out of this election season.
Boy,
do you have a pick in the election, or or are you just going to sit this one out?
As a result of getting 4 OWIs in 6 weeks, that makes me a felon, so I cannot vote. So, that's an unfortunate thing because I enjoy that right that I have. I have listened to all the candidates. I think Marco Rubio has a good, strong message that is getting overpowered by the rest of the louder members of the Republican Party, and I think he's worth listening to. On the other side of the aisle, Bernie Sanders is an interesting character who has some views that don't necessarily collide with or coincide with mine, but he also is a strong candidate.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure just talking with you today. It's truly a blessing to get this type of, content coming from an awesome person who has a sincere, passion about this. We can hear it in your voice. So we hope to connect with you again. And April is Alcohol Awareness Month. We'd like to have you back on. If you would definitely gladly take the invite.
Glad. I would be honored. Thank you very much. And when you get your TV part up and running too, I've got a Skype studio in my basement, so we can make this in addition to a lively conversation. It'll look good too.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Looking forward to it. So that there it is, folks. And if you want to get in touch with Scott, his information will be on the recording archive of our website at transformubroadcast.com. We will have his website there, as well as the full recording of this interview. And, if you haven't joined already, make sure you go out and join. Make sure you share with other individuals so they can be a part of this great community in which we're, bringing all these awesome, exciting, world-leading experts, and as well as their friends, too. And a lot of my friends are there, too. So with that being said, many blessings, peace, and love to each and every one of you guys. You have a wonderful day today, and stay blessed and continue to make your transformation happen in your life.